Ethan Stark's coffee splashed across his white shirt the moment Calvin Candy's shoulder deliberately slammed into him. Laughter erupted from the break room as Ethan frantically dabbed at the spreading brown stain. Still can't afford a decent suit, Stark? Calvin adjusted his Rolex with manicured fingers. Maybe you should ask for a raise. Oh wait, errand boys don't get raises. More laughter. Ethan's cheeks burned as he kept his eyes down, counting silently to control his breathing. Asterisk one day. One day they'll know, asterisk. Hey everyone, Calvin called out, his voice carrying across the trading floor. Our resident nobody needs dry cleaning money. Should we start a collection? Ethan had learned to endure the daily humiliations at Pinnacle Financial. As the lowest-ranking analyst, he'd spent 3 years being the office punching bag while secretly gathering information, playing the part of the desperate, socially awkward employee just grateful to have a job. None of them knew who he really was. His phone vibrated in his pocket. Unknown number. Mr. Stark. The voice was formal, grave. This is Martin Blackwood from Weintraub and Associates. I regret to inform you that your Uncle Howard Wayne passed away last night. Ethan's hand gripped the phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. I understand, he managed, throat suddenly dry. Sir, given the circumstances, we need to meet immediately. The reading of the will is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. As Ethan hung up, he noticed Natalie Parker watching him from her desk, her expression unreadable. The only person who had ever shown him kindness in this Shark Tank. Was she truly concerned, or was there something else behind those observant eyes? Problem, nobody? Calvin called out, smirking. Debt collectors finally catch up with you? Ethan slipped his phone into his pocket. My uncle died. Oh! Calvin's smile faltered for just a second before returning. Well, don't expect paid bereavement leave. We're not a charity. I need to leave early today. Ethan's voice was steadier than he felt. Whatever. It's not like you contribute anything meaningful anyway. Calvin waved dismissively and walked away, high-fiving a colleague. As Ethan packed his things, Natalie approached his desk. I'm sorry about your uncle, she said softly. Thanks. He studied her face, searching for sincerity. After years of deception, he trusted no one. If you need anything. She hesitated, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. I'll be fine. The law office of Weintraub and Associates occupied the top floor of a gleaming downtown skyscraper, a world away from Ethan's studio apartment. The receptionist led him to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Mr. Stark. Martin Blackwood stood, extending his hand. Please accept my condolences. Your uncle spoke of you often. Ethan doubted that. He and Howard had communicated through encrypted channels for years, maintaining absolute secrecy about their relationship. The world believed Howard Wayne died childless and without family. Was it really an accident? Ethan asked bluntly. Martin's expression tightened. The police report indicates your uncle's yacht explosion was caused by a fuel line malfunction. Howard Wayne didn't have malfunctions. Perhaps we should discuss the will first. Martin opened a leather portfolio. Your uncle left explicit instructions. The reading tomorrow is largely ceremonial. You and I need to speak privately beforehand. Martin slid a USB drive across the table. This contains a video message from your uncle, to be viewed by you alone. Additionally, he paused, lowering his voice. The entirety of Wayne Enterprises, valued at approximately $27.3 billion, has been left to you. Ethan had expected this, but hearing it confirmed still sent a shock through his system. 3 years of preparation, of living a double life, all leading to this moment. There are conditions, Martin continued, looking uncomfortable. What conditions? Your uncle believed his death was not an accident. He suspected someone at Pinnacle Financial was responsible. Ethan's pulse quickened. Why? That information is in his message to you. But to claim your inheritance, you must fulfill his final request. Continue working at Pinnacle undercover for exactly 90 days. Identify who was responsible for stealing billions from your uncle's accounts, who orchestrated his death, and who is planning the hostile takeover of Wayne Enterprises. Ethan leaned back, mind racing. And if I refuse? The entire fortune goes to charity, and the evidence your uncle gathered disappears forever. Martin handed him an envelope. Your uncle left this as well. He said you'd understand when the time came. Inside was a single key and a note with an address. As Ethan left the building, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Asterisk, they're watching you now. Trust no one. Not even me. H asterisk. A message from his dead uncle. or someone who wanted him to think so. Tomorrow, he would return to Pinnacle as the same nobody they'd always mocked. But everything had changed. The game had begun, and the stakes were nothing less than his life. Hello, my amazing viewers. I hope you're enjoying this story so far. Where are you watching from today? I'd love to know in the comments below. Have you subscribed to my channel yet? If not, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss what happens next in Ethan's dangerous journey. Are you ready to discover what secrets await him at Pinnacle Financial? Let me know your theories in the comments. Ethan's apartment was a calculated deception. The worn furniture, outdated appliances, and peeling paint all painted the picture of a struggling junior analyst. But behind a false wall in his closet sat a high-end computer system that would make intelligence agencies envious. He inserted the USB drive, ran 3 different security protocols, and played the video. Howard Wayne appeared on screen, his steel-gray hair immaculate, his posture rigid even while seated in his leather chair. The timestamp showed the recording was made just 1 week ago. Ethan, if you're watching this, I'm supposedly dead. Howard's mouth curved into the hint of a smile. Whether I actually am remains to be seen. Ethan leaned forward, studying his uncle's face. The man who had secretly raised him after his parents' death. A car accident that, in retrospect, had always seemed suspicious. I've left you everything, but with purpose, not privilege. Wayne Enterprises was built on blood money. My mistakes. My sins. Howard's expression hardened. Pinnacle Financial helped me create shell companies, hide assets, and eliminate problems. Their CEO, Richard Baxter, was once my closest friend, until he wasn't. Howard explained how billions had vanished from his offshore accounts over the past year. How evidence pointed to Pinnacle. How someone wanted him gone. Trust no one, especially those who show you kindness. That's how they'll try to reach you. His uncle's eyes bored into him through the screen. You have 90 days to find the truth. After that, the evidence I've gathered automatically goes to federal authorities, along with your name as my accomplice in decades of financial crimes. The screen went black. Ethan sat in silence, the implications clear. His uncle had constructed a perfect trap. Find the criminals or go down with them. His phone buzzed with an email from Natalie Parker. Asterisk heard about your uncle. Take all the time you need. We're here for you when you return, asterisk. Ethan deleted it without replying. The will reading was a performance designed for public consumption. Executives from Wayne Enterprises filled the conference room. Shock rippling through the crowd when Martin announced that Howard Wayne's entire fortune had been left to his previously unknown nephew, Ethan Stark. This is preposterous. Victor Woltz, Wayne's CFO, slammed his fist on the table. Howard never mentioned any family. This is clearly a fraud. Martin calmly presented DNA test results and legal documentation spanning back to Ethan's childhood. Mr. Wayne was extremely private about his personal affairs. He specifically kept Mr. Stark's existence confidential for security reasons. As cameras flashed outside the building, Ethan maintained his facade of stunned disbelief, playing the role of the overwhelmed inheritor. Amelia Lannister, Wayne's chief legal counsel, cornered Ethan afterward. Howard never trusted anyone. Why you? I'm just as surprised as you are, Ethan lied smoothly. Wayne Enterprises employs over 50,000 people worldwide, she said, her eyes calculating. The board won't simply hand over control to a nobody from Pinnacle Financial. I never asked for this. Yet here you are. She handed him her card. Call me when you realize you're out of your depth. You'll need allies, Mr. Stark. As Ethan left, he noticed a black sedan following his taxi. He'd expected surveillance, but so soon? The game had changed faster than anticipated. That night, Ethan visited the address from his uncle's note. The key opened a storage unit containing a waterproof case with 3 passports, $500,000 in cash, a loaded gun, and a burner phone with 1 number saved. His escape plan. But escape wasn't an option. Not until he learned the truth. Returning to Pinnacle the following Monday, Ethan braced himself for what would come. News of his inheritance had exploded across financial media. The moment he stepped off the elevator, conversations halted. Every eye tracked him as he walked to his desk, no longer the invisible nobody. Well, well, Calvin approached, his smile predatory. If it isn't the secret billionaire, why didn't you tell us you were Howard Wayne's little project? It wasn't relevant to my work here, Ethan said quietly, powering up his computer. Not relevant? Calvin laughed. You've been slumming it here while your uncle was one of the richest men in America? What kind of sick game is that? I have reports to finish, Calvin. Richard Baxter, Pinnacle's CEO, emerged from his office. The man Ethan had only glimpsed from afar now stood before him, tall, imposing, with a smile that never reached his eyes. Mr. Stark, Baxter extended his hand. A moment in my office, please. Ethan followed him into the corner suite with its panoramic city views. Quite the surprise about your uncle, Baxter said, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. Howard was a business associate. His death was unfortunate. You knew him well? Ethan accepted the drink, but didn't sip. We had dealings over the years. Nothing personal. Baxter's expression betrayed nothing. I'm curious why his heir would work at Pinnacle in such a junior position. I wanted to make my own way, Ethan recited his prepared explanation. Howard respected that. Admirable. Baxter studied him. Of course, I assume you'll be leaving us now to take over Wayne Enterprises. Actually, I'd like to finish my current projects first. Give proper notice. Surprise flickered across Baxter's face. That's unexpected, but appreciated. Take all the time you need. He raised his glass. To new beginnings. Ethan finally took a small sip, knowing Baxter was watching him closely. As he left the office, Natalie intercepted him. Congratulations on your inheritance, she said, her voice lower than usual. Though I'm not sure that's the right word when you've lost family. Thank you. He studied her face, remembering his uncle's warning about kindness. Why are you still here? She asked. If I suddenly inherited billions, I'd be on a beach somewhere. I'm not going anywhere yet. Something changed in her expression, concern, calculation, or something else entirely. We should get coffee sometime. Outside the office. Maybe. Ethan returned to his desk, feeling the weight of dozens of stares. Former colleagues who had mocked him now approached with transparent friendliness. Calvin maintained his distance, his expression thunderous. Ethan glanced toward Baxter's office, where the CEO was now on the phone, watching him through the glass. The predator evaluating his prey. Let them all watch. Let them wonder. The nobody was nobody no more, and he had 90 days to discover which of these smiling faces had murdered his uncle. 3 days after his return to Pinnacle, Ethan received an invitation to the executive floor. Not Baxter's office this time, but a conference room where Dominic Toretto, Pinnacle's chief investment officer, waited. Mr. Stark, Toretto gestured to a seat. I've been reviewing your work history. Ethan remained silent. 3 years at Pinnacle. Consistently average performance reviews. Nothing remarkable in your background except an economics degree from a state university. Toretto's fingers drummed the table. Yet Howard Wayne, one of the most paranoid billionaires in history, left you everything. I'm as surprised as anyone, Ethan maintained his cover. Are you? Toretto leaned forward. Because I've been trying to understand why Wayne would employ us to manage certain sensitive transactions while his own nephew worked in our analytics department. Seems like an extraordinary coincidence. Life is full of those. Indeed. Toretto smiled thinly. Here's another coincidence. The day after Wayne's death, someone attempted to access restricted client files. Files related to Wayne's offshore holdings. Our cybersecurity team traced the attempt to this building. Ethan kept his expression neutral despite the alarm bells ringing in his head. He'd been careful. Incredibly careful. That's concerning. Isn't it? Toretto slid a folder across the table. We're creating a special task force to manage the Wayne Enterprises acquisition. I want you on it. Acquisition? Surely you've been briefed? Pinnacle is negotiating to purchase controlling interest in Wayne Enterprises from the estate. Your estate, technically. Toretto's smile widened. We'll pay handsomely, of course. But given your limited business experience, we thought you'd appreciate guidance through this transition. The trap was materializing faster than expected. I haven't agreed to sell anything. Of course not. Not yet. Toretto stood. The team meets tomorrow morning. 8 sharp. Oh, and Natalie Parker will be joining us. She has specific expertise that will be valuable. As if summoned by her name, Natalie appeared in the doorway. Sorry I'm late, she said, taking a seat beside Ethan. Traffic was terrible. Ms. Parker was just transferred to my team, Toretto explained. She's been analyzing Wayne Enterprises' vulnerabilities for some time. Ethan glanced at Natalie, whose expression revealed nothing. Had she been watching him all along? Was her kindness part of Pinnacle's strategy? I look forward to working together, Natalie said, her eyes meeting his briefly. The meeting continued with discussion of integration strategies and valuation metrics. Throughout, Ethan felt Natalie studying him, assessing him. He'd need to be careful around her, perhaps most careful of all. That evening, Ethan followed the protocol his uncle had established for emergencies. At a public library computer, he accessed a secure server using 3 different passwords and a biometric verification. The message he found chilled him. Asterisk storage unit compromised. Assume all contingencies known. Accelerate timeline. Transfer authority codes to secure location immediately. Verification. Mockingbird protocol active. Asterisk. Only Howard knew about Mockingbird, a system designed to fake his death if necessary, which meant either his uncle was alive or someone had extracted this information from him before killing him. Ethan's phone buzzed. An email from Baxter's assistant. Asterisk Mr. Baxter requests your attendance at his home this Saturday evening. Annual garden party for select Pinnacle employees. Car will collect you at 7 p.m. Asterisk. Not an invitation, a command. Ethan sent his acceptance, then noticed another email arriving from an encrypted address. Asterisk the bird sings at midnight. The fox hunts at dawn. Trust the one who knows your mother's name. Asterisk. His mother's name. Marie. No one at Pinnacle could know that. His identity had been scrubbed clean years ago, his connection to Howard buried under layers of false documentation. Who was trying to contact him? Baxter's mansion sprawled across 3 acres in the most exclusive neighborhood in the city. Security guards checked IDs at the gate, while staff in formal attire carried champagne trays through manicured gardens illuminated by thousands of twinkling lights. Quite different from your uncle's taste, said a voice behind him. Ethan turned to find Natalie, transformed from office analyst to vision in a midnight blue dress. Her hair fell in loose waves around her shoulders, and for a moment, Ethan forgot she might be his enemy. I wouldn't know, he replied. I wasn't privy to his personal life. Really? She accepted 2 champagne flutes from a passing server, offering one to him. The entire financial world is buzzing with theories about your relationship with Howard Wayne, the mysterious nephew who appeared from nowhere. People love a good story. They do. She clinked her glass against his. Especially when it involves billions of dollars and suspicious deaths. Ethan tensed. The investigators ruled it an accident. Did they? Natalie stepped closer. Word is, the yacht's maintenance records were impeccable. Howard Wayne was obsessive about safety. A fuel line doesn't just malfunction. You seem to know a lot about my uncle. I know a lot about many things, Ethan. Her eyes held his. Including why you're really still at Pinnacle. Before he could respond, Calvin appeared, clearly several drinks in. The golden boy arrives. Tell me, Stark, how does it feel knowing you're only here because Baxter wants to get his hands on your company? Calvin, Natalie warned. What? It's not like it's a secret. Calvin swayed slightly. Everyone knows Pinnacle needs the Wayne acquisition to cover the losses from the Singapore debacle. Why do you think Baxter's playing nice with the office nobody? You're drunk, Natalie said coldly. And you're obvious. Calvin's eyes narrowed. Cozying up to the billionaire. Smart move, Parker. But you should know, she was asking questions about you long before your uncle died, Stark. Digging into your background. Ethan glanced at Natalie, whose expression had hardened. That's enough, Calvin. Richard Baxter materialized beside them, his smile tight. I believe your father is looking for you. Calvin muttered something under his breath, but retreated. Mr. Stark, Miss Parker, please forgive the interruption. Baxter gestured toward the house. I'd like to show you something in my study, if you have a moment. They followed him through the crowded party into a wood-paneled room lined with books and antique weapons. Baxter closed the door, muffling the party sounds. Howard and I negotiated many deals in this room, Baxter said, moving to a cabinet. We were partners once, did you know that? No, Ethan said truthfully. Before Wayne Enterprises, before Pinnacle. 2 young men with big dreams and few scruples. Baxter poured amber liquid into crystal glasses. We built empires, made billions. Then something changed. What happened? Natalie asked. Baxter handed them each a drink. Marie happened. Ethan nearly dropped his glass. His mother's name. Howard met Marie Calloway at a charity gala. Brilliant woman. Beautiful. I'd never seen him so human. Baxter swirled his drink. They married quickly. Then she became pregnant. Ethan struggled to maintain his composure. This wasn't the story he'd been told. His mother had never been married to Howard. She was his sister-in-law, who married his brother Daniel. At least, that was what Howard had always claimed. The accident was unfortunate, Baxter continued. Howard was never the same afterward. He became paranoid, secretive, convinced someone had targeted them. Were they targeted? Ethan asked, his voice steadier than he felt. Baxter's eyes met his. Howard certainly thought so. He disappeared for years. When he re-emerged, he was different. Harder. We resumed business dealings, but the trust was gone. The implications staggered Ethan. If Baxter was telling the truth, everything Howard had told him was a lie. He wasn't Howard's nephew, he was his son. Why are you telling me this? Ethan demanded. Because Howard's past is about to become very relevant to your future. Baxter set down his glass. There are people coming for Wayne Enterprises who won't care that you're an innocent inheritor. People Howard crossed. People who have been waiting decades for revenge. And Pinnacle's offer to acquire Wayne Enterprises is your way of protecting me? Ethan couldn't keep the skepticism from his voice. It's my way of honoring a promise I made to your mother. Baxter's expression softened momentarily. Marie was my friend too. A knock interrupted them. Baxter's assistant entered. Sir, Mr. Woltz has arrived with the Wayne Enterprises team. Thank you, Jennifer. Tell them I'll be right out. When she left, Baxter turned back to Ethan. Consider what I've said. You have until the end of the month to decide about our offer. After that, I can't guarantee I can protect you from what's coming. After Baxter left, Ethan turned to find Natalie watching him intently. Your mother's name was Marie, she said softly. You never mentioned her. Ethan's blood ran cold. It wasn't a question. She knew. Who are you really? He demanded. Someone who knows the truth about Howard Wayne. She stepped closer. And someone who knows you're not who you're pretending to be. Neither are you. Her smile was sad. No, I'm not. She reached into her clutch and removed a small object, a diamond earring with an unusual setting. This belonged to Marie Stark. Your mother wore it the night she died. Howard kept it in a safe behind his desk. Ethan stared at the earring, recognition flickering. He'd seen it in photographs. How did you get this? I worked for your uncle. Her voice dropped to a whisper. The real enemy isn't Pinnacle, Ethan. It's already inside Wayne Enterprises. And they know you're here. Before he could respond, the study door opened again. Dominic Toretto entered, his expression darkening when he saw them standing so close. Am I interrupting? He asked coldly. Not at all. Natalie stepped back smoothly. Mr. Stark was just telling me about his plans for Wayne Enterprises. Toretto's eyes narrowed. Baxter wants everyone in the garden for the toast. As they followed Toretto out, Natalie pressed something into Ethan's hand, a small flash drive. Don't trust what you think you know, she whispered. Everything was a lie. The flash drive burned in Ethan's pocket as he mingled through Baxter's party, mechanically smiling at executives who wouldn't have acknowledged his existence a week ago. His mind raced with questions. If Howard was his father, not his uncle, what else had been a lie? And Natalie, whose side was she really on? He spotted her across the garden, deep in conversation with Victor Woltz, Wayne Enterprises CFO. Her body language was intimate, familiar. Had she worked with Woltz too? Just how deep did her connections go? Quite the revelation about Marie, wasn't it? Ethan turned to find Calvin's father, Lawrence Candy, Pinnacle's chairman, studying him with calculating eyes. You knew my mother? Ethan asked carefully. Everyone knew Marie. Lawrence sipped his champagne. Brilliant mathematician. Could have run Wayne Enterprises herself if things had been different. Different how? Lawrence's gaze drifted to where Baxter was holding court with investors. Howard wasn't the only one who loved her, but he was the one she chose. His attention returned to Ethan, eyes narrowing. You have her eyes, you know. I'm surprised it took so long for people to make the connection. I've been told I resemble my father. Which one? Lawrence asked with a knowing smile. Before Ethan could respond, Baxter called for attention, raising his glass for a toast. To new partnerships and old friends, he announced, eyes finding Ethan in the crowd. And to honoring the legacies we inherit. As glasses clinked, Ethan felt someone brush against him. A server leaned close. The mockingbird still sings, the man whispered, then disappeared into the crowd. Ethan scanned the garden frantically, but the server was gone. Another message from his supposedly dead uncle, or a trap. Back in his apartment, Ethan accessed the flash drive using multiple security protocols. Inside was a single video file dated 3 years earlier. When he played it, Howard Wayne's face appeared. If Natalie has given you this, things haven't gone according to plan, Howard began. You need to know the truth now. Howard explained that Ethan was indeed his son with Marie. After their deaths were staged, Howard had hidden Ethan with trusted friends, creating the nephew story as cover. The real threat had come from within Wayne Enterprises itself, a cabal of executives who had discovered Howard's involvement in illegal weapons technology sales decades earlier. Pinnacle helped me hide the money, create new identities. Baxter was my partner in everything. Until he wasn't. Howard's expression darkened. Something changed 10 years ago. Money started disappearing. Deals I never approved began happening. Then the accidents started. Howard detailed a complex conspiracy involving shell companies, blackmail, and industrial espionage. According to him, Baxter had orchestrated a decades-long plan to take control of Wayne's technology patents, particularly those related to an advanced weapons system codenamed Prometheus. I sent you to Pinnacle to find evidence, Howard concluded. But I fear I've sent you into the lion's den without proper protection. Trust Natalie Parker. She was Marie's goddaughter. She's been working undercover at Pinnacle for 5 years, gathering evidence against Baxter. The video ended, leaving Ethan reeling. Natalie was Marie's goddaughter? Another connection Howard had hidden from him. But why? And if she'd been working for Howard all along, why hadn't she approached him earlier during his 3 years at Pinnacle? His burner phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. * meet me. Pioneer Square. 1 hour, *. No signature, but it had to be Natalie. Ethan checked his apartment for surveillance before slipping out the back entrance, using counter-surveillance techniques Howard had taught him. Pioneer Square was crowded with late-night revelers. Ethan positioned himself near a fountain, scanning for Natalie. Instead, he spotted Dominic Toretto observing him from across the square. Was this an ambush? He turned to leave and nearly collided with Natalie, who grabbed his arm and pulled him toward a noisy bar. "We're being watched," she said, her lips close to his ear. "Multiple teams. Pinnacle and Wayne Enterprises security." Inside the bar, she led him through the kitchen and out a service entrance to a waiting car. "Get in," she ordered. "We don't have much time." As they drove, Ethan studied her profile. "You're Marie's goddaughter." Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Yes. Why didn't you tell me?" "Howard's orders. Complete separation. No contact until absolutely necessary." She navigated through side streets, constantly checking the rearview mirror. "I've been gathering evidence against Baxter for years. We were close to having enough when Howard's yacht exploded." "You believe he's dead?" Her hesitation was brief but noticeable. "I don't know what to believe anymore." She parked in an underground garage and led him to a service elevator. They rode in silence to the 12th floor of what appeared to be a luxury apartment building. Inside a sparsely furnished unit, she immediately went to a laptop. "After Howard disappeared, I received instructions to continue the operation," she explained, typing rapidly. "But something's wrong. The evidence I've gathered keeps disappearing from our secure servers. Someone's accessing our network. A mole in Howard's organization? Or Howard himself?" She looked up grimly. "I'm not convinced he's dead. The body they recovered was too badly burned for proper identification. The DNA test was rushed. Then where is he? And why fake his death now? That's what I've been trying to figure out." She turned the laptop toward him, showing financial records. These transactions occurred after Howard's supposed death. Massive fund transfers from Wayne Enterprises to accounts I can't trace. Ethan examined the records. "These look like preparations for something big." "Exactly. And then there's this." She pulled up another file, surveillance photos of Ethan over the past 3 years. Photos taken long before Howard's death. "Howard was watching you. All of us. Building files." "Insurance," Ethan murmured. "In case we betrayed him. Or in case we discovered the truth." Natalie's voice hardened. "What if Howard isn't the victim here? What if he's the architect of everything, including his own disappearance?" The suggestion sent a cold shock through Ethan. Could his uncle, his father, have orchestrated this elaborate scheme? Set him up as a pawn? "The Prometheus Project," Ethan said suddenly. "Do you know what it is?" Natalie's expression changed subtly. "Where did you hear that name?" "Howard mentioned it in the video you gave me." She was silent for a long moment. "It's a weapons system. Autonomous drones with artificial intelligence. Capable of making targeting decisions without human intervention. That's illegal under international law." "Yes, but incredibly valuable to certain buyers." She closed the laptop. "Howard developed the initial technology 20 years ago. The patents are buried within Wayne Enterprises holdings, disguised as agricultural automation systems. If Pinnacle gains control of Wayne Enterprises, They get Prometheus. The pieces were falling into place. That's why Baxter wants me to sell. But why would Howard develop illegal weapons technology in the first place? Natalie's phone buzzed. She checked it, her face paling. We need to move. Now. What's happening? Our security has been compromised. They've found us. She grabbed a go bag from a closet and tossed him a gun. Do you know how to use this? Ethan checked the magazine in safety. Howard insisted on weapons training. Of course he did. She headed for the door. There's a safe house across town. We can. The door exploded inward with a deafening bang. Smoke filled the apartment as armed figures in tactical gear swarmed inside. Down! Get down! They shouted. Ethan reached for Natalie, but someone tackled him from behind. As he struggled, he caught a glimpse of her being dragged away by two men in black. Ethan Stark, a modulated voice said close to his ear. By order of the Wayne Enterprises Board of Directors, you're being removed for your own protection. A hood was pulled over his head. The last thing he heard was Natalie screaming his name before something hard struck the back of his head, and darkness claimed him. Ethan woke to the steady beep of medical equipment. His vision cleared slowly, revealing an elegant private hospital room with panoramic windows overlooking mountains he didn't recognize. He's awake, someone said. A man in a lab coat approached, checking his vitals. Mr. Stark, you're safe now. You're at a Wayne Enterprises medical facility. Where? Ethan's throat was raw. Colorado. The board felt you'd be safer away from the city after the attempt on your life. Attempt? What happened to Natalie? The doctor glanced toward the door, where Ethan now noticed Victor Woltz standing. Ms. Parker is being held for questioning, Woltz said, approaching the bed. We have evidence she's been working with Richard Baxter to manipulate you into selling Wayne Enterprises. That's not true. We intercepted communications between them. Woltz placed a tablet on the bed. She's been reporting to Baxter for years. Everything, her supposed friendship with you, the story about being Marie's goddaughter, all fabricated to gain your trust. Ethan examined the messages on the tablet. They appeared authentic, detailed reports from Natalie to Baxter about Ethan's movements, vulnerabilities, psychological profile. Howard trusted her, Ethan argued, but doubt crept into his voice. Howard trusted too many people. That was his downfall. Woltz's expression softened with practiced sympathy. The board has voted to appoint an interim CEO while you recover. For your safety, we recommend you remain here under protection. In other words, they were keeping him isolated and under control. How did you find us at the apartment? Ethan asked. Anonymous tip. Woltz checked his watch. I need to return to headquarters. Security will be stationed outside your door. Don't hesitate to ask for anything you need. After Woltz left, Ethan examined his room. No phone. The tablet was locked to only display the messages they wanted him to see. The windows, though offering a spectacular view, were clearly unbreakable. A luxurious prison. He thought about Natalie. Had she truly betrayed him? Or was this part of a larger deception? The messages could have been fabricated. Howard had taught him how easily digital evidence could be manipulated. As night fell over the mountains, Ethan tested his strength, finding his body bruised but functional. He needed to escape, find Natalie, discover the truth about Prometheus and his father's real plans. The door opened, and a nurse entered with medication. Time for your painkillers, Mr. Stark. I don't need them. Doctor's orders. Her smile was professional but firm. Ethan reluctantly accepted the pills and water, pretending to swallow while palming the medication. Someone will bring dinner shortly, she said, checking his phone. Is there anything else you need? Information. Where exactly am I? The Wayne Neurological Research Facility. One of your uncle's passion projects. She adjusted his blanket. Rest now. You're completely safe here. But as she left, Ethan noticed something that sent a chill down his spine. A small tattoo on her wrist. A mockingbird. His father's symbol. Howard was alive. And he was here. Ethan waited until 2 a.m. before making his move. He'd spent hours observing the security patterns. A guard check every 30 minutes, nurses at midnight, and 3 a.m. for vitals. Using techniques Howard had taught him, he disabled the room's surveillance cameras with a makeshift electromagnetic pulse created from parts of the medical equipment. The corridor was dimly lit and eerily silent. Ethan moved quietly, following exit signs toward what he hoped was a way out. Instead, he found himself in a laboratory wing. Through glass walls, he saw rows of servers and workstations with the Wayne Enterprises logo. One door stood slightly ajar. Inside, holographic displays projected complex schematics that Ethan immediately recognized as weapons designs. Prometheus wasn't just a concept, it was being actively developed here. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. Ethan spun around to find the nurse with the mockingbird tattoo. Up close, he could see she wasn't a nurse at all. Her eyes held the hardness of military training. "Where is Howard Wayne?" Ethan demanded. "Follow me if you want answers." She turned and walked away without checking if he followed. She led him through a security door requiring her thumbprint, down to a sub-basement level not indicated on any directional signs. At the end of a long corridor was a steel door with no visible handle. "He's waiting," she said, pressing her palm against a scanner. The door slid open to reveal a command center filled with monitors displaying surveillance feeds from across the globe. At its center stood a man Ethan had believed dead. Howard Wayne, very much alive, watching his approach with calculating eyes. "Hello, son," Howard said simply. Ethan fought the urge to run to him, or perhaps to strike him. "You're alive." A necessary deception. Howard gestured to a chair. "We have much to discuss and limited time." "You lied to me. About everything." Ethan remained standing. "You're my father, not my uncle." "Yes." Howard showed no remorse. "It was safer for you to believe the cover story. Fewer questions." "Safer? You sent me into Pinnacle as bait. I sent you there to learn." Howard turned to a screen displaying Natalie's photograph. "Just as I sent Natalie years earlier." "Where is she?" "Currently being held at Pinnacle's private detention facility. Baxter believes she's a Wayne Enterprises spy." A grim smile. "He's partly correct. She told me she was Marie's goddaughter." Another necessary lie. Howard touched the screen, bringing up personnel files. "Natalie Parker is a highly trained operative who's worked for me for 10 years. Her background, her personality, her connection to you, all carefully constructed." The revelation hit Ethan like a physical blow. "So she was manipulating me from the beginning. She was protecting you." Howard's voice softened slightly. "And gathering intelligence. The real threat is far greater than you understand." Howard activated a holographic display showing global assets, shell companies, and covert operations spanning decades. "Wayne Enterprises isn't just a technology company," Howard explained. "It's a front for something much larger. Prometheus isn't a weapons system. It's a global surveillance network I built after your mother died." The display shifted to show thousands of interconnected nodes across every continent. Artificial intelligence designed to predict and prevent catastrophic events before they occur. Wars, assassinations, terror attacks. Howard's eyes gleamed with fervor. "It works by monitoring global communications, financial transactions, movement patterns, everything. You created a global spy system." Ethan felt sick. "That's illegal in every democracy on Earth." "It's necessary, and it's been operational for 5 years." Howard pulled up another screen showing a world map with pulsing red indicators. 2 months ago, Prometheus detected a coordinated effort to access its core protocols. Someone is trying to weaponize it. "Baxter? I thought so initially, but the attack signature suggests something more sophisticated." Howard looked grim. "We traced it to a group within Wayne Enterprises itself, working with elements inside Pinnacle. The board members who brought me here." "Yes. Victor Woltz is their public face, but he's merely a figurehead. The real power is Lawrence Candy." "Calvin's father?" Ethan remembered the chairman's cryptic comments about his mother. "Lawrence was obsessed with Marie. When she chose me, he never forgave either of us." Howard's jaw tightened. He spent 30 years planning his revenge. Taking control of Prometheus would give him unprecedented power, the ability to predict and manipulate global events. "So you faked your death to draw them out." Ethan's anger returned. "Using me as the target. Using you as the key." Howard activated another display showing Ethan's genetic profile. "Prometheus has a biological authentication protocol. Only someone sharing my DNA can authorize certain command functions." "My DNA." The truth dawned horribly. "You needed me to inherit everything, so I could unwittingly give them access, while simultaneously helping us identify everyone involved in the conspiracy." Howard nodded. "It was the only way." "And Natalie? What's her role in all this?" Howard hesitated. "Natalie's connection to this goes deeper than you know. She isn't Marie's goddaughter, she's her daughter. Your half-sister." The room seemed to tilt around Ethan. "That's not possible. Before Marie and I married, she had a brief relationship with Lawrence Candy. She gave the baby up for adoption. Howard's expression darkened. Lawrence never knew. But I found Natalie years later and recruited her, knowing her genetic connection to Marie would make her valuable to Prometheus. Does she know? Ethan demanded. Does she know who she really is? No. Like you, she was given only the information necessary for her role. Howard checked a security monitor. We're running out of time. Woltz's security team has discovered you're missing. I'm not helping you. Ethan backed toward the door. You've manipulated everyone, me, Natalie, the entire world. You're no better than Candy. I'm trying to protect humanity from itself. Howard's voice hardened. Prometheus in Candy's hands would mean targeted assassinations, market manipulations, regime changes, all serving his interests. And in your hands, it's different? Ethan challenged. I built safeguards, ethical frameworks. The system predicts and prevents harm. It doesn't cause it. Howard moved toward him. Candy would reverse those priorities. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. On the security monitors, armed teams swept through corridors. They're here, Howard said calmly. You need to make a choice, Ethan. Now. What choice? Help me protect Prometheus, or watch Candy use it to reshape the world in his image. Howard held out a small device. This contains activation codes only your DNA can implement. It will shut down Prometheus permanently if necessary. Ethan stared at the device. Why would you give me the power to destroy your life's work? Because you're Marie's son. You have her moral compass. For the first time, vulnerability showed in Howard's eyes. I trust you to make the right choice when the time comes. The door burst open. Victor Woltz entered, flanked by armed security. Howard Wayne. He didn't sound surprised. I suspected you might have survived. Victor. Howard remained calm. I see Lawrence still has you doing his dirty work. This facility is now under Wayne Enterprises' control. Woltz nodded to his men, who moved to restrain Howard. The board has declared you mentally incompetent, Howard. And your son will be returning with me to complete the inheritance transfer. I'm not going anywhere with you, Ethan said. Woltz smiled thinly. I believe you will. Especially when you learn what's happening to your sister. On cue, a guard activated a tablet showing live footage of Natalie, bruised and restrained in what appeared to be an interrogation room. Lawrence Candy stood beside her. You have 12 hours to surrender control of Prometheus, Woltz told Howard. Or Lawrence will continue his discussion with Ms. Parker. And trust me, he's been waiting years for this conversation. As guards moved toward Ethan, Howard lunged forward, pressing the small device into Ethan's hand. Find the mockingbird, he shouted before being tackled to the ground. In the chaos, the nurse with the tattoo grabbed Ethan, pulling him toward a hidden door in the wall. This way! Gunfire erupted behind them as they fled through a maintenance tunnel. The nurse, clearly some kind of operative, moved with practiced efficiency. Who are you? Ethan demanded as they ran. Maya Ripley. Wayne Security. She led him to a service elevator. Your father has contingency plans for everything, including his recapture. Where are we going? To save your sister. She handed him a comm device. The real war for Prometheus begins now. The private jet banked sharply over the Atlantic. Ethan studied the dossier Maya had provided on Lawrence Candy. Harvard-educated, former intelligence operative, ruthless businessman with suspected ties to government overthrows in 3 countries. Candy built Pinnacle using old intelligence community connections, Maya explained. The firm manages wealth for some of the world's most dangerous people. Dictators, arms dealers, drug cartels. And Howard worked with him. Your father believed he could control Candy. Use his connections while limiting the damage. Maya's expression hardened. He was wrong. Satellite imagery showed Natalie being transferred to a private estate on the French coast, Candy's European headquarters. Why take her to France? Ethan asked. It's outside U.S. jurisdiction, and the estate has sophisticated security that would make extraction nearly impossible. Maya checked her weapons. Nearly. You still haven't explained how we're going to get inside. We're not. Maya pulled up building schematics. You are. The plan was audacious and terrifying. Ethan would pose as a Wayne Enterprises executive accepting Candy's acquisition offer, giving Maya time to infiltrate the security systems and locate Natalie. What if Candy recognizes me? Ethan asked. He won't. You've never met in person, and we're changing your appearance. She gestured to the case containing hair dye, colored contacts, and prosthetics. Besides, he's expecting a frightened heir, not a trained operative. I'm not a trained operative. You're Howard Wayne's son. She met his eyes. You were born for this. Candy's estate sprawled across 50 acres of pristine coastline, a monument to wealth and power. Ethan was escorted through marble hallways by armed guards to a sunlit conservatory where Lawrence Candy sat alone, reading financial reports. Mr. Woltz, Candy greeted him, using the false identity they'd created. Welcome to La Maison Blanche. Thank you for seeing me on short notice. Ethan controlled his voice carefully, adopting the slight mannerisms Maya had coached him on. The Wayne acquisition is my top priority. Candy gestured to a chair. I understand you've brought the preliminary transfer documents? Yes. The board felt an in-person discussion would expedite matters. Ethan placed his briefcase on the table. The specialized lock would give Maya access to Candy's security network once opened. Excellent. Candy studied him with uncomfortably penetrating eyes. You remind me of someone. Have we met before? I don't believe so. Ethan opened the briefcase, activating the hidden transmitter. Perhaps at the London conference last year? Perhaps. Candy didn't look convinced. He reached for the documents, scanning them quickly. These give Pinnacle majority control of Wayne Enterprises, but I noticed the Prometheus patents aren't specifically enumerated. They're included in the technology transfer section. Ethan pointed to a paragraph, trying to maintain his composure. How much did Candy know about Prometheus? I'll need confirmation that the biological authentication protocols can be modified. Candy's gaze intensified. Specifically, removing the Wayne DNA requirement. The board is prepared to cooperate fully. Ethan made a show of checking his watch. I have a call scheduled with our technology division in 20 minutes to discuss implementation details. No need for calls. Candy smiled coldly. We have someone here who can answer all my questions about Prometheus. He pressed an intercom button. Bring in Ms. Parker. Ethan's heart raced as the doors opened and Natalie was let in, her face bruised but her posture defiant. Their eyes met briefly, hers widening in recognition despite his disguise. Ms. Parker has been most informative, Candy said, though somewhat resistant to certain questions. I told you, Natalie said hoarsely, biological authentication can't be overridden without Howard Wayne's direct approval. And yet Howard Wayne is reportedly dead. Candy circled her slowly, making his son the new gatekeeper. His son doesn't have the necessary clearances, Natalie countered. Howard made sure of that. Candy stopped directly behind her chair. Then perhaps we should ask him directly. In a swift motion, he pulled a gun and aimed it at Ethan. Remove those ridiculous contacts, Mr. Stark. Your father's eyes were always rather distinctive. The room froze. Ethan's mind raced through options, each worse than the last. Guards, Candy called. Mr. Stark appears to be wearing a communication device. Find his accomplice. Alarms blared throughout the estate. Ethan locked eyes with Natalie, trying to communicate silently. If she truly was his half-sister, did she know? Had Howard told her? I'm disappointed, Ethan, Candy sighed. I expected Howard's son to be more resourceful. How did you know? Ethan asked, playing for time. Your mother's mannerisms. A shadow crossed Candy's face. Marie had the same habit of touching her collar when nervous. You've done it 3 times since entering. Candy moved to a wall panel, revealing a hidden safe. From it, he removed a small metal cylinder. Do you know what this is? He asked, holding it reverently. The Prometheus core, Natalie whispered. Howard said it was destroyed. Howard says many things. Most untrue. Candy placed the cylinder on the table. This contains the original algorithm, Marie's algorithm. Your mother was the true genius behind Prometheus, not Howard. Ethan glanced at Natalie, whose expression confirmed this revelation. What Howard calls Prometheus is merely the implementation of Marie's theoretical work, Candy continued. She designed a system to predict and prevent violence, to save lives. Howard perverted it into a surveillance tool. And what would you turn it into? Ethan challenged. A correction mechanism. Candy's eyes gleamed. The world is chaotic, undisciplined. Prometheus can identify which individuals and organizations threaten stability. It can remove obstacles to progress. You mean assassinate people, Natalie said flatly. I mean surgical excision of cancerous elements. Candy smiled. With the right applications, we could eliminate war, terrorism, even climate change by removing those who block solutions. Mass murder guided by an algorithm, Ethan said. That's your vision? Evolution guided by intelligence. Candy pointed the gun at Natalie. Now the authentication codes. Howard embedded them in both of you. Genetic markers that respond to specific biochemical triggers. Both of us? Natalie looked confused. Oh! Candy's smile widened. He never told you, did he? About Marie. About your true parentage. The color drained from Natalie's face. What are you talking about? You really don't know. Candy laughed. Howard's final secret. Natalie Parker isn't just Howard's operative. She's Marie Calloway's daughter. Your half-sister, Ethan. Natalie's eyes flew to Ethan's, shock and disbelief evident. That's not possible. Marie was pregnant when she met Howard, Candy said softly. My child. She gave you up for adoption before marrying him. The revelation landed like a physical blow. Natalie shook her head in denial. You're lying, she whispered. DNA doesn't lie. Candy's voice hardened. Howard found you years later. Recruited you. Used you against me, just as he used Ethan. If I'm your daughter, Natalie said, her voice shaking. Why the torture? Why this? Because you chose Howard. Chose his lies. Genuine pain flashed across Candy's face. Just as your mother did. The comm device in Ethan's ear crackled to life. Maya's voice came through faintly. Extraction team in position. East window. On my mark. Candy continued, oblivious to the communication. The Prometheus core requires dual authentication, both Wayne and Calloway DNA. Howard and Marie built that safeguard together. He looked between Ethan and Natalie. But the combination of your DNA provides the same result. Brother and sister, each carrying half the key. And if we refuse? Ethan asked. Then I start removing pieces of your sister until you comply. Candy nodded to a guard, who approached Natalie with a knife. Fingers first, I think. Wait. Ethan raised his hands. I'll do it. Just don't hurt her. Ethan, no, Natalie pleaded. You don't understand what Prometheus can do in his hands. I understand perfectly. Ethan met Candy's eyes. But I need to know one thing first. Did you kill my mother? Pain and rage flashed across Candy's face. I loved Marie more than Howard ever did. Her death was his fault. His arrogance. His secrets. His voice broke slightly. I would have given her everything. In that moment of emotional vulnerability, Maya's voice came through the comm. Now. The east windows exploded inward as smoke grenades flew into the room. Ethan lunged across the table, tackling Candy as chaos erupted. Guards fired blindly into the smoke as a tactical team breached the room. Ethan scrambled toward Natalie, cutting her restraints with a knife he'd concealed in his sleeve. Can you move? Yes. Despite her injuries, she was already scanning for escape routes. The core, we can't let him keep it. Ethan spotted the Prometheus cylinder where it had fallen during the initial assault. As he reached for it, gunfire erupted from behind him. Pain seared through his shoulder as a bullet found its mark. Ethan! Natalie screamed, dragging him behind an overturned table as return fire from Maya's team provided cover. Through the smoke, Ethan saw Candy escaping through a hidden door, clutching the Prometheus core. He's getting away, Ethan gasped, blood seeping between his fingers as he pressed against the wound. You're hit. We need to get you out first. Natalie tore a strip from her shirt, fashioning a hasty pressure bandage. Maya appeared through the smoke, firing methodically at pursuing guards. Extraction route compromised. We need another way out. The boathouse, Natalie said immediately. Underground passage from the wine cellar. You know this place? Maya asked sharply. I cased it last year. Natalie helped Ethan to his feet. Howard wanted contingency plans. They fought their way through the mansion, Maya and her team providing covering fire as they descended to the wine cellar. Ethan's vision blurred from blood loss and pain, but he forced himself to stay conscious. The south wall, Natalie directed, moving to an ornate wine rack. Pressure plate behind the 1945 Bordeaux. The hidden door slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel. Go! Maya ordered her team forward to secure the route. Candy will have the estate locked down in minutes. As they moved through the tunnel, Ethan's strength waned. Natalie, he managed between labored breaths. Did you know? About us? No. Her face was a mask of conflicted emotions. Howard told me I was an orphan he'd taken in. That Marie had been a family friend. Her voice caught. Everything was a lie. Not everything. Ethan squeezed her hand with his remaining strength. We're family. That's real. The tunnel opened onto a boathouse where a sleek cigarette boat waited. Maya's team secured the perimeter while Natalie and Maya helped Ethan aboard. He took the core, Ethan told Maya as she examined his wound. Candy has Prometheus. Not all of it. Maya's expression was grim. The core is useless without the activation sequence, which only you and Natalie can provide together. He'll come after us, Natalie said, starting the boat's engines. He won't stop until he has what he wants. Then we need to find Howard, Ethan said, fighting to stay conscious. He's the only one who understands Prometheus completely. If he's still alive, Natalie countered. Woltz could have killed him after we escaped. No. Despite his pain, Ethan felt certainty. Howard plans for everything. He knew this might happen. As the boat sped away from the estate, alarms blaring behind them, Ethan remembered Howard's final words. Find the Mockingbird. The Mockingbird Protocol, he murmured as darkness began to close in around him. Howard left us a way to find him. Stay with me, Ethan. Natalie's voice seemed to come from far away. Stay with me, brother. Brother. The word echoed in his mind as consciousness slipped away, replaced by swirling darkness and the distant sound of helicopter rotors closing in. Ethan drifted between consciousness and darkness. Fragmented memories swirled through his mind. His mother's face from photographs Howard had shown him, the sound of Natalie calling him brother, Candy's cold eyes as he spoke of surgical excision. He awoke in a dimly lit room that smelled of antiseptic and salt air. Bandages wrapped his shoulder, and in 4 dripped clear fluid into his arm. Through a small window, he could see ocean waves crashing against rocky cliffs. Welcome back. Natalie sat beside his bed, her own injuries bandaged. You lost a lot of blood. Where are we? His voice was hoarse. Safe house off the Portuguese coast. One of Howard's contingencies. She offered him water. Maya got us out by helicopter after you passed out. Candy. Still alive. Still has the Prometheus core. Her expression darkened. And he's gone public with a sanitized version of events. According to international news, terrorists attacked his estate and kidnapped Howard Wayne's heir. Perfect cover for hunting us openly. Ethan winced as he tried to sit up. How long was I out? 3 days. Natalie helped adjust his pillows. The bullet missed anything vital, but the infection was bad. We almost lost you. The door opened and Maya entered, looking exhausted but alert. Good timing. We just got a signal. From who? Ethan asked. The Mockingbird. Maya placed a tablet on the bed. This arrived through 6 different encrypted channels. Verification protocols confirm it's from Howard. The message was brief. Asterisk nest compromised. Meet at the beginning. The answer is Marie's constellation. 3 days asterisk. The beginning? Natalie frowned. That could mean anything. Not anything, Ethan said slowly, memories surfacing. Howard always said everything began with Marie. Their beginning. Paris, Natalie realized. They met at a mathematics conference in Paris. He told me that story. Marie's constellation, Maya mused. A password. A location, Ethan corrected. Howard once showed me where he proposed to Marie. An observatory outside Paris. She was an amateur astronomer. Her favorite constellation was Cygnus. The Swan, Natalie whispered. I always felt drawn to it too. I used to watch it for hours as a child without knowing why. The significance of this shared connection hung between them. Genetic memory, or just coincidence? 3 days gives us time to get you mobile, Maya said to Ethan. But we'll be exposed. Every intelligence agency and private security firm will be looking for us. Not just us, Natalie added grimly. News reports say Wayne Enterprises has issued a global security alert. Howard Wayne has been declared alive but mentally unstable. They're painting him as the villain. Classic misdirection, Maya nodded. While Candy positions himself as the legitimate successor to Wayne's empire. Ethan struggled to process everything. Do we even know Howard is on our side? He lied to both of us our entire lives. He protected us, Natalie countered. In his own twisted way. By using us as pawns in his game with Candy. Ethan's anger resurfaced. He knew the risks. He knew who you really were and never told either of us. Natalie's expression hardened. You think I'm not angry? Everything I thought I knew about myself is a lie. I'm the daughter of a monster. Candy's biology doesn't define you, Ethan said more gently. Just like Howard's doesn't define me. But it does give us both access to Prometheus. Natalie's eyes met his. Which means we have a choice that Howard and Candy don't. We can end this. How? The device Howard gave you at the research facility. Natalie leaned forward. It contains a kill switch for Prometheus, doesn't it? A way to shut down the entire system permanently. That's what he claimed. Ethan reached for the small device Maya had recovered from his clothing. But it requires both of our genetic markers to activate. Brother and sister. Which means we can decide Prometheus's fate, regardless of what Howard or Candy want. Determination flashed in Natalie's eyes. For the first time, we have real agency in this. A new understanding passed between them. Whatever Howard's endgame, whatever Candy planned, they now held the power to chart their own course. First, we need to find Howard, Maya reminded them. He's the only one who understands Prometheus's full capabilities and vulnerabilities. And we need to determine if he's truly on our side, Ethan added, or if he's playing his own game. 2 days later, Ethan stood on the deck of a small fishing boat headed for the French coast. His shoulder still throbbed, but the antibiotics had controlled the infection, and determination drove him forward. Natalie joined him at the railing, her face illuminated by moonlight. "I've been thinking about Marie," she said quietly. "Our mother. What was she like?" Howard said she was brilliant. Compassionate. She could see patterns where others saw chaos. Ethan stared at the distant shoreline. He had videos of her that he would watch when he thought I wasn't around. "She had your smile. And your eyes, apparently." Natalie attempted a smile. "Funny how genetics works. Do you remember anything about your adoptive parents?" "Not much. They died when I was young, car accident." Her expression darkened. "Though now I wonder if it really was an accident. Howard became my guardian afterward. Sent me to elite schools, training programs. Grooming you to help him against Candy," Ethan observed. "Yes." Her voice held no self-pity, only clear-eyed assessment. "Just as he groomed you. We were both weapons in their war. But now we choose our own targets." She turned to face him fully. "Ethan, we need to discuss what happens if Howard isn't what we hope. If he's manipulating us even now. We use the kill switch," Ethan said without hesitation. "End Prometheus permanently. Even if it could save lives?" Natalie challenged. Howard wasn't entirely wrong. A system that could predict terrorist attacks, prevent wars. At what cost? Ethan shook his head. Total surveillance? Preemptive action against people who haven't committed any crime yet? Where does it end? "I don't know," she admitted. "But is destroying it outright our only option?" Before he could answer, Maya emerged from the cabin. "We're approaching the drop point. Satellite imagery shows increased security around Paris following Candy's press conference yesterday." "What did he say?" Ethan asked. "He publicly accused Howard of developing illegal weapons technology and attempting to sell it to hostile governments. He's positioned Pinnacle as the White Knight stepping in to prevent global catastrophe." She handed them fake identification documents. "French authorities are officially cooperating with Pinnacle's security teams." Setting up a kill box, Natalie translated grimly. "They're expecting us. Which means we need a diversion." Maya outlined their approach. A false trail leading Candy's forces to the southern edges of Paris while they approached the observatory from the north. "What about the Prometheus core?" Ethan asked. "Candy still has it. But it's useless without you too," Maya reminded him. "Our priority is finding Howard and determining if Prometheus can be neutralized." As they prepared to disembark, Natalie pulled Ethan aside. "Whatever happens, we stick together from now on. No more secrets. No more separate paths. Howard and Candy both want to divide us. It's how they maintain control." "Agreed." Ethan clasped her hand. "Brother and sister against the world." "Against our fathers," she corrected solemnly. The Paris Observatory stood on a hilltop south of the city, its 19th-century dome illuminated against the twilight sky. Security was visible but not overwhelming. 2 guards at the main entrance, surveillance cameras at strategic points. "Too easy," Natalie murmured as they observed from a distance. "Where's the trap?" "Maybe it's not here," Ethan suggested. Howard's message specified Marie's constellation. "The main observatory, isn't it?" He pointed to a smaller structure several hundred meters from the main building. A private observation dome that looked long abandoned. "That's it," Natalie agreed. Howard mentioned it once. Marie used it for her personal research. The university maintained it for her. They approached cautiously through the wooded grounds. The small dome appeared untouched for years, its metal door rusted and locked. "Marie's constellation," Ethan murmured, examining the lock. "It wasn't mechanical but electronic, disguised to look antique. It needs a code." "Cygnus," Natalie suggested. "Too obvious." Ethan studied the keypad. Howard would use something only Marie would know. Natalie traced the worn constellation map etched into the metal beside the door. "These are the coordinates for Cygnus, but they're slightly off." She entered the precise numbers into the keypad. The actual coordinates, not the common ones. The lock clicked open. Inside, the small observatory was immaculate despite its external appearance. Modern equipment filled the space, and at its center stood Howard Wayne. "You made it," he said simply, eyes moving between them. "Both of you." "No thanks to you," Ethan replied coldly. "Candy almost killed us. But he didn't. Because you're stronger than he anticipated." Howard's gaze lingered on Natalie. "Both of you are." "You knew," Natalie said, her voice tight with emotion. "All these years, you knew I was Marie's daughter. Candy's daughter." "Yes. Why the deception?" she demanded. "Why not tell me the truth? Would it have made your burden easier?" Howard asked. "Knowing you were the daughter of Marie Calloway and Lawrence Candy? That your mother gave you up? That your father became a monster? It was my truth to know. It was a vulnerability I couldn't afford to expose." Howard's expression softened slightly. "Marie wanted you protected from both of us, from the war between Candy and me. She made me promise. So you recruited me to fight your war instead," Natalie said bitterly. "Used me against my own father. I gave you purpose, direction, a chance to protect others instead of becoming like him." Howard turned to Ethan. "Just as I trained you. To be your backup plan," Ethan said. "Your contingency. To be my successor." Howard activated a holographic display showing Prometheus's global network. "Everything I've built, everything I've done, was leading to this moment. When both of you would stand here, ready to make the choice Marie and I could not." "What choice?" Natalie asked warily. "Whether Prometheus lives or dies." Howard gestured to the kill switch device Ethan carried. "That contains the complete shutdown protocol, and something more. A redesigned version of the original algorithm. Marie's true vision." The hologram shifted to show a new network structure, more distributed, less centralized. "Marie never intended Prometheus to be controlled by any single entity," Howard explained. "She designed it to be self-governing, transparent, with multiple independent oversight systems." "But you built it differently," Ethan challenged. "Because the world wasn't ready for Marie's version." Howard's face showed genuine regret. "I compromised her vision to make it operational. Centralized control. Secrecy. Everything that made it vulnerable to misuse by someone like Candy. And now," Natalie pressed, "now Candy has the original core. He's working to crack its authentication requirements. Given time, he'll succeed." Howard's expression grew urgent. "But that device contains Marie's original algorithm, purified, improved. If activated by both of you together, it will override the existing Prometheus network and implement her true vision. Or shut it down completely," Ethan noted. "Yes, the choice is yours." Howard stepped back. As it should be. The implications were staggering. Howard Wayne, who had controlled and manipulated everything and everyone for decades, was surrendering his life's work to their judgment. "Why trust us now?" Ethan asked suspiciously. "After all the lies? Because you've both proven yourselves by surviving everything Candy and I put you through." A hint of pride crept into Howard's voice. "And because you're Marie's children. You carry not just her DNA, but her moral clarity. How convenient that you found your conscience now that Candy has the upper hand," Natalie said skeptically. "Not conscience. Acceptance." Howard moved to a window, looking out at the night sky. "I'm dying, Natalie. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months at best. That's why I accelerated the timeline, why I staged my death. I needed to force Candy's hand, while I could still help you fight him." The revelation hung in the air between them. For the first time, Ethan noticed the pallor beneath Howard's tan, the slight tremor in his hands. "Is that why you're really giving us this choice?" Ethan asked. "Because you won't be around to make it? I'm giving you this choice because it should have been yours all along." Howard turned back to them. Marie would have wanted her children to decide. A proximity alarm suddenly blared from Howard's equipment. Security feeds showed vehicles approaching the observatory grounds. "Candy," Howard said grimly. "Sooner than I expected." "How did he find us?" Natalie moved to the security monitors. "He didn't need to." Howard pulled up satellite imagery showing approaching forces. "He found me. I've been bait all along." "You knew he would track you here?" Ethan asked. "I counted on it." Howard activated additional displays showing global news feeds. "Look, every major network worldwide was broadcasting the same breaking news. Howard Wayne, believed dead, discovered alive in Paris. Allegations of illegal weapons development. International authorities converging on the observatory. You've exposed yourself deliberately, Natalie realized. Why? To expose him. Howard showed them another feed, financial data streaming across markets worldwide. Candy's making his move, using the confusion to initiate a hostile takeover of Wayne Enterprises through Pinnacle. Precisely as I predicted. You're sacrificing yourself, Ethan said slowly. Drawing him out. I'm already dead, Ethan. Cancer or Candy, the result is the same. Howard moved to a hidden panel, revealing weapons and equipment. But you two don't have to be. There's an escape tunnel beneath this building. Take the device and go. Make your choice away from here. And leave you to face Candy alone? Natalie shook her head. No, this isn't your fight anymore. It's always been our fight, Ethan countered. You made sure of that when you dragged us into it. Headlights swept across the windows as vehicles surrounded the building. Tactical teams deployed, their movements precise and coordinated. They're Pinnacle's private security, Howard noted. Not French authorities. Candy wants this kept quiet despite the public story. Then let's disappoint him, Natalie said, checking the weapon Howard had provided. I have questions for my father. We all do, Ethan agreed, standing shoulder to shoulder with his sister. Howard studied them both, something like pride mixing with resignation in his eyes. Marie would be proud of you both. He turned to the equipment, typing rapidly. I can buy you time, but you'll need to be ready to use that device when the moment comes. How will we know? Ethan asked. You'll know. Howard finished his preparations and faced them fully. Whatever you decide, to resurrect Prometheus or destroy it, do it together. That's what Marie always wanted. Her children, united in purpose. Outside, a voice boomed through a megaphone. Howard Wayne. This is Lawrence Candy. We have you surrounded. Surrender the Prometheus protocols, and no one needs to be harmed. Howard's smile was cold. He always did have a flair for the dramatic. As the three of them prepared for the confrontation to come, a strange calm settled over Ethan. For the first time since learning of his inheritance, he felt clarity of purpose. Whatever happened next, he would face it with his sister by his side, and the truth finally revealed. The Mockingbird had led them home, not to safety, but to the heart of the storm that had been brewing for 30 years. A storm created by two men's obsession and one woman's vision. A storm that only Marie's children could finally end. The observatory dome echoed with the sound of tactical teams taking position. Through security feeds, Ethan counted at least 20 armed operatives surrounding the building. They're establishing a perimeter, Natalie observed, her training evident in her calm assessment. No police presence. Candy wants to handle this privately. Of course he does, Howard replied, moving to a control panel. Prometheus is too valuable and too dangerous to risk government intervention. What's your play here? Ethan asked his father. You said you were buying us time. Howard activated a sequence of commands. Across the observatory's grounds, security systems came online. Barriers emerged from seemingly innocuous landscaping, and targeted electromagnetic pulses disabled the attackers' communication devices. Phase 1, Howard explained. Disruption and containment. Now for Phase 2. He turned to a sophisticated communications array. 30 years ago, I built backdoors into every major news network's broadcast systems. Time to use them. You're going public, Natalie realized. Exposing everything. Not everything. Just enough. Howard initiated a broadcast sequence. The world is about to learn that Lawrence Candy has been developing illegal autonomous weapons systems. That Pinnacle Financial has been laundering money for dictators and terrorist organizations for decades. And your role in all this? Ethan challenged. Will remain ambiguous. Howard didn't flinch from Ethan's accusation. Some truths serve no purpose except destruction. Outside, Candy's voice boomed again. 2 minutes, Howard, then we breach. Your theatrics with the security systems won't hold us for long. He's right about that, Howard acknowledged. Which brings us to Phase 3. He moved to what appeared to be an antique telescope, but was actually a sophisticated weapons system. This will target their vehicles and weapons systems. Non-lethal, but effective. And what do you expect us to do while you play action hero? Ethan demanded. Make your decision about Prometheus. Howard's expression softened momentarily. Marie believed in you both, even before you were born. She knew this day would come. How could she possibly know that? Natalie asked. Because she designed Prometheus to predict it. Howard's revelation landed like a thunderbolt. Her original algorithm wasn't just about preventing violence or tracking terrorists. It was about mapping the future, identifying critical decision points where humanity's path could change. And this is one of those points, Ethan said slowly. The most important one. Howard checked the security feeds again. Candy's forces are repositioning. We have minutes at most. A deafening explosion rocked the building as Candy's team breached the outer defenses. Howard activated the weapons system, which hummed to life, targeting the attackers with precision. Through the windows, Ethan saw flashes of blue light as electromagnetic pulses disabled equipment and weapons. Now, Howard urged them. Make your choice. Marie's vision or a world without Prometheus. Ethan looked at Natalie, seeing his own conflict mirrored in her eyes. Together, he said. She nodded, understanding. They each placed a hand on the device Howard had given Ethan. The kill switch that could also resurrect Prometheus in its intended form. A small needle extended from the device, pricking both their fingers simultaneously. DNA authentication completed in seconds, unlocking the interface. Two options appeared on the small screen. Terminate Prometheus. Implement Protocol Cygnus. Protocol Cygnus, Natalie murmured. Marie's constellation. Her original design, Howard confirmed, firing another electromagnetic pulse at the advancing forces. A Prometheus that belongs to everyone and no one. Transparent. Ethical. Governed by international oversight. Or we end it completely, Ethan countered. No more surveillance. No more playing God with people's lives. The building shook with another explosion. The attackers were breaking through. Decide now, Howard urged. Before Candy. The door burst open. Lawrence Candy entered, flanked by armed guards. In his hand, he held the Prometheus core cylinder. Family reunion, he observed coldly. How touching. Lawrence. Howard positioned himself between Candy and his children. Still hiding behind hired guns? Some things never change. And some things do. Candy's gaze shifted to Natalie. My daughter working with Wayne. My greatest disappointment. I'm not your daughter, Natalie replied, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. Biology doesn't make a father. Perhaps not. Candy's smile was razor-thin. But it does make you useful for Prometheus authentication. That's why you kept me alive, she realized. You need both Wayne and Calloway DNA. I needed Howard's son for that. You were merely insurance. Candy's casual cruelty landed like a physical blow. Though I admit, there's a certain poetry in using Marie's children to fulfill my vision. Your vision is a perversion of everything Marie intended, Howard countered. Says the man who built a global surveillance system against her wishes. Candy's eyes hardened. Don't pretend moral superiority, Howard. We both betrayed her. As they spoke, Ethan noticed Maya silently positioning herself by the observatory's secondary entrance. Her team must have followed Candy's forces, waiting for the right moment to intervene. You're right, Howard said, surprising everyone. I betrayed Marie's vision, corrupted it out of fear and control. He took a step toward Candy. But her children can restore it, as she always intended. Her children, Candy scoffed. You stole Ethan from me. Made him yours. Marie was never yours to begin with, Howard replied quietly. She chose me. Rage flashed across Candy's face. And died for that choice. The implication hung in the air for a heartbeat before Howard lunged at Candy with unexpected speed. The two men, once partners then enemies, now at the end of their decades-long game, collided with the desperation of men with nothing left to lose. Now, Maya shouted as her team burst in, engaging Candy's guards in close-quarters combat. Ethan pulled Natalie behind cover as gunfire erupted across the observatory. The kill switch device was still in his hand, the decision unmade. We need to end this, he told her, raising his voice above the chaos. One way or another. Through the melee, they saw Howard and Candy still struggling, the Prometheus core cylinder between them. With a final surge of strength that belied his cancer-weakened body, Howard wrenched the cylinder from Candy's grasp and staggered backward toward the observatory's central mechanism. It ends with me, Lawrence, Howard declared, inserting the cylinder into what appeared to be a telescope mounting, but was clearly designed for this exact purpose. As it should have years ago. No. Candy broke free from the fight, drawing a concealed weapon. You can't. I already have. Howard activated a sequence on the cylinder. Core protocol unlocked. Marie's failsafe initiated. What failsafe? Ethan called out, moving toward his father. The one she built into the original core. Howard's eyes met Ethan's with a mix of regret and resolve. A complete system purge triggered by my biometrics alone. Prometheus will destroy itself, unless you choose to save it. Understanding dawned on Ethan. The kill switch in his hand wasn't just a shutdown mechanism. It was an override that could preserve Prometheus in its new form even as the old system self-destructed. You planned this, Natalie realized, joining Ethan. All of it. I planned for possibilities, Howard corrected. Marie taught me that much. Stop this. Candy raised his weapon at Howard. I won't let you destroy everything. It's not your decision anymore, Howard replied calmly. It's theirs. Candy shifted his aim toward Ethan and Natalie. Then they died too. 3 shots rang out in rapid succession. Candy staggered, looking down in shock at the blood spreading across his chest. Behind him stood Victor Woltz, his weapon still raised. For Marie, Woltz said quietly as Candy collapsed. Victor? Howard looked genuinely surprised. You were Candy's man. I was Marie's colleague first, Woltz replied. Before either of you corrupted her work. I've waited 30 years to end this. The revelation came too late. The self-destruct sequence Howard had initiated continued counting down on displays throughout the observatory. Global feeds showed Prometheus nodes beginning to shut down worldwide. 50 seconds until complete system failure, Howard announced. Make your choice, children. Ethan and Natalie looked at each other, the device between them. In that moment, years of manipulation, lies, and hidden truths fell away. They were simply a brother and sister facing an impossible decision, one that would affect the world's future. What would she want? Natalie asked softly. Ethan thought of the mother he'd never known, the brilliant mathematician who had envisioned a system to protect humanity from itself. She would want us to decide together, he answered. As equals. No manipulation. No control. 30 seconds, Howard warned. In the background, Maya and her team had subdued the remaining attackers. Woltz stood over Candy's body, his mission finally complete. Howard watched his children, making no move to influence their decision. I think I know what we need to do, Natalie said, meeting Ethan's gaze. He nodded, understanding passing between them. Together, they pressed their thumbs against the device's interface. 10 seconds, Howard announced. Ethan took a deep breath. For Marie, he said. For our mother, Natalie agreed. They made their selection simultaneously. Implement Protocol Cygnus. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The observatory system surged with power as new code overwrote the old. On global feeds, the Prometheus network flickered, then stabilized in a new configuration. More distributed, more transparent. Marie's vision, Howard breathed, watching the transformation with something approaching awe. After all these years. Not exactly, Ethan corrected, showing him the modification they'd made to the protocol. We added our own condition. The interface now displayed. Protocol Cygnus activated, sunset clause enabled, 5-year limit. A sunset provision, Natalie explained. Prometheus will operate according to Marie's original design for 5 years, with complete transparency and international oversight. After that, the world votes on whether to continue or dismantle it. No more decisions made in shadows, Ethan added, looking pointedly at Howard. No more control by the few over the many. Howard stared at the modified protocol, then at his children. For perhaps the first time in his life, he appeared genuinely speechless. She would have approved, he finally said, a hint of pride breaking through his composure. Outside, sirens wailed as legitimate authorities finally approached. The private nature of Candy's operation had given way to public scrutiny, exactly as Howard had planned with his emergency broadcasts. What happens now? Natalie asked as Maya's team prepared for extraction. Now you both disappear, Howard told them. At least temporarily. Until Prometheus is fully established under its new protocols and Candy's organization is dismantled. And you? Ethan asked. Cancer or not, you have a lot to answer for. I know. Howard's acceptance seemed genuine. I'll stay. Face the consequences. It's time I stopped hiding in the shadows. They'll prosecute you, Natalie warned. For surveillance violations at minimum. Good. Howard's smile was tired but peaceful. Someone should be held accountable. It shouldn't be Marie's children. As Maya signaled that their escape route was ready, Ethan faced his father one last time. Was any of it real? He asked. The things you taught me. The time we spent together. Was it all just preparation for this? Howard considered the question carefully. It started that way, he admitted. But somewhere along the line, yes. It became real. He looked between Ethan and Natalie. You both became more than contingencies to me. You became my redemption. Redemption requires honesty, Natalie said. Something you never gave us. Then let me start now. Howard reached into his pocket and removed a small data crystal. Everything. The whole truth about Marie, about both of you. No more secrets. Ethan accepted the crystal, tucking it away carefully. Goodbye, Howard. Not goodbye, Howard corrected gently. Just time apart. Prometheus may have a sunset clause, but families don't. He stepped back, straightening his shoulders to face what was coming. Now go. Build something better than Candy or I ever could. As they moved toward the exit, following Maya's lead, Natalie paused to look back at the man who had manipulated her life, yet somehow given her a brother. Thank you, she said simply. For finding me. Howard nodded, emotion finally breaking through his carefully maintained facade. Marie would be proud of you both, he said. I know I am. Outside, the first light of dawn broke over Paris as Ethan and Natalie slipped away, leaving behind the battlefield of their father's war and taking with them the promise of their mother's vision, and their own. 1 year later, the small cafe overlooked Lake Geneva, its terrace offering privacy and spectacular views. Ethan sipped his coffee, watching tourists stroll along the promenade below. His shoulder had healed completely, though the scar remained, one of many reminders of that night in Paris. Sorry I'm late, Natalie said, sliding into the seat across from him. Security protocols took longer than expected. The price of being Prometheus Oversight Directors, Ethan replied with a smile. How was Vienna? Productive. The UN Oversight Committee finally agreed to our transparency requirements. She ordered coffee from a passing server. And your meeting in London? Wayne Enterprises Board has officially approved the reorganization plan. The weapons division is being dismantled, with all resources redirected to humanitarian tech. They fell into comfortable silence, the ease of siblings who had spent the past year rebuilding not just a global corporation and revolutionary system, but their own relationship as well. After Paris, they had indeed disappeared as Howard suggested, but only for 3 months, using the time to study Marie's original designs for Prometheus and the truth Howard had given them on the data crystal. When they re-emerged, it was with a unified vision and a detailed plan for both Prometheus and Wayne Enterprises. Have you seen the latest approval ratings? Natalie asked, scrolling through her tablet. 78% global support, Ethan nodded. People are starting to trust Prometheus now that they can actually see how it works. Marie's original design had been revolutionary. A predictive system that operated in complete transparency, with multiple independent oversight bodies and stringent ethical constraints. No more secret surveillance, no more unilateral decision-making. Every prediction, every intervention was documented and publicly accessible. The prediction accuracy has improved too, Natalie noted. 89% on major conflict risk assessments. 3 potential civil wars averted through early diplomatic intervention this year alone. And 0 privacy violations reported in 6 months, Ethan added. The distributed architecture is working exactly as Mother designed it. They still found it strange sometimes, referring to Marie as their mother, a woman neither had ever known, yet whose vision now guided their lives. Howard had given them everything: photographs, videos, Marie's journals, even the original sketches for what would become Prometheus. I received a message from Zurich this morning, Natalie said more quietly. Howard's treatment isn't working anymore. Doctors give him 3 months. Ethan's expression softened. Have you decided if you'll visit? Have you? The question hung between them. Howard Wayne had indeed faced justice, a highly publicized trial that exposed decades of surveillance overreach and corporate manipulation. In a surprise move, Howard had pled guilty to all charges, accepting a 20-year sentence without appeal. Only Ethan and Natalie knew the truth. With his cancer diagnosis, Howard had never expected to serve even a fraction of that time. I think we should go together, Ethan finally said. Whatever else he did, he brought us together. He protected Mother's vision in his own twisted way. And manipulated us our entire lives, Natalie reminded him, though without the bitterness that had once colored her voice. Yes, Ethan couldn't deny it. But in the end, he gave us the choice. That counts for something. Their waitress returned with Natalie's coffee and a folder. This arrived for you both, she said, revealing herself as one of their security team. Biometric verification confirmed. Inside the folder was a single photograph, Marie Calloway standing between 2 cribs, one hand resting gently on each. On the back, written in what they now recognized as their mother's handwriting, "My swans." My constellation. May you find each other when the time comes. She knew, Natalie whispered, touching the photo reverently. Somehow, she knew we'd be separated. That we'd find each other again. Howard said her mathematical models were decades ahead of their time, Ethan mused. Maybe she calculated the probabilities, saw what was coming. Or maybe she just had hope, Natalie suggested. A mother's hope for her children. The revelation settled over them like a gentle wave, washing away lingering doubts. Whatever manipulation had marked their past, this connection, this family bond, was real. There's something else we need to discuss, Ethan said after a moment. The Wayne Enterprises board meeting next week. Victor Woltz is pushing for expanded Prometheus applications in predictive policing. After Paris, Woltz had been granted immunity in exchange for testimony against Candy's organization. He now served as Wayne Enterprises' chief security officer, his knowledge of the original Prometheus making him valuable, if not entirely trusted. Predictive policing crosses the ethical boundaries Mother established, Natalie frowned. Using probability to target individuals before they commit crimes was exactly what she opposed. I agree. Ethan pulled up proposal details on his tablet. But Woltz argues that with proper oversight and transparency, it could save lives. The same justification Howard and Candy used. Natalie's expression hardened. No, we established that precedent, and we're back where we started, just with better PR. That's what I thought you'd say. Ethan smiled. The board meeting is really a formality. As co-executors of the Wayne estate, we have final authority on Prometheus applications. This arrangement, perhaps Howard's final gift to them, ensured that Marie's children remained the ultimate guardians of her vision. Neither Ethan nor Natalie could act unilaterally. They had to agree, preserving the balance their mother had foreseen. 4 more years until the sunset clause activates, Natalie noted. Do you ever wonder what will happen if the world votes to dismantle Prometheus? Sometimes. But I think Mother would be at peace with either outcome. Ethan looked out over the lake, reflecting. The choice was always meant to belong to humanity as a whole, not to individuals like Howard or Candy. Or us, Natalie added softly. Or us, he agreed. Their conversation was interrupted by Maya's arrival. No longer just Howard's operative, she now served as head of global security for the Prometheus Oversight Committee. Sorry to interrupt, she said, taking a seat. But we have a situation developing in Southeast Asia. Potential military coup predicted within 72 hours. Confidence level 83%. Diplomatic intervention options? Ethan asked, immediately focused. 3 viable pathways identified. UN Security Council has been notified per protocols. Maya passed them secure tablets with the details. They're requesting your presence at the emergency session. As they reviewed the information, Ethan caught Natalie's eye. This was the system working exactly as their mother had envisioned. Identifying potential violence before it erupted, creating space for diplomatic rather than military solutions, all within a framework of transparency and ethical oversight. Our flight leaves in an hour, Maya informed them. The committee is assembling in New York. We'll be there, Ethan confirmed, gathering his things. As they prepared to leave, Natalie paused, looking once more at the photograph of their mother. She would be proud, wouldn't she? Of what we've built from the ashes of our father's war. I think she knew all along what we would build, Ethan replied, gently placing the photograph in an inside pocket, close to his heart. She designed the foundation. We're just finishing what she started. They walked together toward the waiting car, no longer the pawns they had once been, but partners in a legacy that transcended the manipulation and lies of their past. Behind them, the sun glinted off Lake Geneva, casting long shadows that stretched toward new horizons. Much like the future they were building, step by careful step. 3 months later, Ethan stood beside Natalie as Howard Wayne was laid to rest beside Marie Calloway in a private ceremony attended by only a handful of people. Despite his crimes, despite the manipulation that had defined their relationship, they had both found it in themselves to be present for their father's final journey. He wasn't a good man, Ethan reflected as they placed white roses on both graves. But he loved her. That much was true. And in his way, he loved us, Natalie added, surprising herself with the admission. Even if he never knew how to show it properly. Victor Woltz approached them after the service, his expression solemn. Howard left something for you both, he said, handing them a sealed envelope. He asked that you open it together alone. When they were finally by themselves, they broke the seal to find a handwritten letter. something almost anachronistic in their digital age. Ethan and Natalie. Asterisk if you're reading this. I finally faced the one opponent I couldn't outmaneuver. I hope you found it in yourselves to be here today, not for my sake, but for your own closure. Asterisk. Asterisk I've spent my final months watching what you've built. Prometheus as Marie intended it. Wayne Enterprises redirected toward her values, not mine or Candy's. You've created something neither of us could have imagined, something better. Asterisk. Asterisk I won't ask for forgiveness. Some actions transcend forgiveness. But I will tell you something I should have said long ago. I am prouder of you both than you can possibly know. Not for fulfilling my plans, but for defying them. For finding your own path. Asterisk. Asterisk Marie always said our children would surpass us. She was right, as she was about most things. The world is safer in your hands than it ever was in mine. Asterisk. Asterisk there is one last thing. In the Cayman Islands, vault number 4872, you'll find Marie's personal research. Work she did in secret, even from me. The access code is both your birth dates combined. I never opened it. That discovery should be yours alone. Asterisk. Asterisk whatever you find there, remember this. Your mother believed in humanity's capacity for good, even when presented with overwhelming evidence to the contrary. In that, you are truly her children. Asterisk. Asterisk with respect and love I never properly expressed. Howard Asterisk. They sat in silence after reading, the weight of Howard's final message settling over them. For all his manipulation, all his control, he had in the end respected their autonomy enough to leave Marie's final secrets for them to discover together. Should we go to the Caymans? Natalie finally asked. Not yet, Ethan decided. Let's finish what we've started first. Prometheus, Wayne Enterprises, the foundation in Mother's name. When the time is right, we'll discover her last gift together. Together, Natalie agreed, taking her brother's hand. As it was always meant to be. As they left the cemetery, walking side by side into the future their mother had hoped for and their father had finally accepted, they carried with them the complex legacy of both parents, the visionary and the controller, the creator and the manipulator. But most importantly, they carried something uniquely their own, a bond forged through fire, a shared purpose discovered rather than imposed, and the quiet certainty that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as Marie's children, together. At Wayne Enterprises headquarters, now relocated to a sustainable campus outside Boston, a simple plaque had recently been installed in the central atrium. Unlike the grand monuments Howard might have commissioned, this was modest yet profound. Prometheus, born of Marie Calloway's vision, guided by her children's wisdom. The future belongs to those who shape it with compassion. Beneath it, a small rendering of the Cygnus constellation, the swan that had guided them home. I hope you loved this journey, amazing viewers. What did you think of how Ethan and Natalie chose to implement Prometheus with the sunset clause, giving humanity the final vote? And that touching ending with Howard's redemption and final letter? If this story touched you, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss my future stories. Drop a comment below telling me your favorite part or what story you'd like to see next. Thank you so much for coming along on this emotional roller coaster. Until next time.